Okay guys, in this video we're going to talk about how to find angle measures. Okay, so I want you to look at this top diagram here. It's similar to some stuff that's in the book, but it's with some numbers that I made up. Okay, so we see that we've got this big angle here. Okay, we've got HIJ. So when we're naming angles, okay, HIJ, as long as you have the vertex, that's like the point of the angle where the two rays come together. This is the vertex of this angle. Okay, as long as that's in the middle, it doesn't matter the order. I could call this angle JIH or HIJ. It would mean the same thing. Okay, we want to be able to find angle measures. So we have this HIK, which is this shorter angle here. And then we have KIJ, which is this shorter angle. These two angles here are what we call adjacent angles. And if I want to find the measure of the bigger angle, I'm just going to add the measures of the two adjacent angles. Okay, we should actually have a little m here. Okay, because when we do our notation here, we say measure of angle HIK. So the measure of angle HIK equals 85 degrees. And the measure of angle KIJ equals 64 degrees. So if I want to find the measure of angle HIJ, I'm going to add these two smaller angles together. And you can see that, right? They just add them together. Okay, so we'll plug those in. And so we're just going to add 85 plus 64. We're going to sum those out, 140, 149. So let's put an M there. The measure of angle HIJ equals 149 degrees. Okay, so pretty simple when we're doing that. We could also find, if I knew the big measure and I wanted to find one of the smaller ones, I would subtract the big angle. I would go 149 minus the measure of one of the smaller angles, and I could find the other one. Okay, so in the second part of this video, I want to talk about what if we have to use some algebra to do this? What if we don't know the exact measure, but we know that it's some variable? Okay, so in looking at the book, this is on page 596. Okay, it's example 3. You can see it right here, this diagram right here. We've got this ray, and we've got KJ here and KM, right? They're opposite rays. So in other words, together they form a segment by themselves. And KN bisects JKL. So bisecting, that means it cuts it in half. By definition, an angle bisector cuts a big angle in half, giving us two smaller halves. So what they're asking us to do is find the measure of angle JKN. Okay, if we know that NKL is 6x plus 11 and JKN is 8x minus 13. So we want to know what this is. So we want to solve for this. So we're going to use the definition of an angle bisector to find that. Okay, so I know that an angle bisector means that this angle equals that one, right? So because this made a bigger angle, I can set these two angles equal to each other. So the measure of angle NKL equals the measure of angle JKN. So now I'm just going to substitute in my values, and then I can find the measure. So let's substitute in the measure of NKL is 6x plus 11 equals the measure of angle JKN, which is 8x minus 13. This is why it's important to know the definitions of an angle bisector, right? So if I had, we'll draw that real quick. We'll draw it real quick. So we're going to say that this bisects, right? So this is JKN, right? And this is NKL. So JKL is this big angle, and this bisects it. This cuts it in half. Okay, so we substitute that in. And now we're going to solve for x. So our first step is we need to figure out what x is. And once we do that, we can plug that into JKN and figure out what that measure is. Well, it'll work for both of them, actually. So let's solve for x. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 6x from both sides. You can do this in either direction. Okay, so then we've got 11 equals 8x minus 6x is 2x minus 13. We should have done that all in one step, but we didn't, so that's okay. We're going to kind of move this up. That equals 2x minus 13. So we're going to add 13 to both sides, plus 13. 24 equals 2x. We'll divide by 2. So then 12 equals x. So x equals 12. So now we can substitute that in, right? So we can substitute that into the measure of angle JKN, which is 8 times, why did I say x? 8 times 12 minus 13. Use your calculator. 8 times 12 is 96. Minus 13 equals 83. So the measure of angle JKN equals 83 degrees. Okay, so one other thing before we end this video. One thing you need to remember is there is no such thing as a negative angle measure. If you get a negative here, you did something wrong. There are no negative angle measures, at least in what we're doing here. They do exist, but at a much higher level of math. Okay, so that's how we find an angle measure using algebra.